What's
Us,
what's everyone? Welcome back to the Kyokushin Shuffle, the Japan Chronicles with Shihan Sean. Shihan, how's it going?
us,
How you doing?
Sensei. Yeah, good mate. Yeah. No, it's a bit of a cold day today, but yeah, it is what it is.
So I
You
won't
know.
tell you that it's 28 degrees here
Yeah, no,
in
no,
the
I didn't hear
ocean.
that.
I
Didn't
don't,
hear that.
okay, I
No.
won't mention it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Great to have you. Thanks for your time. We are extremely busy. I reiterate that more than anything because um, Shihan, Sean, and I communicate, and we always try to get what we can in. So we have some cool topics to share this week. A lot is happening in the space of training for our tournament in April, which I want to share more of with others.
Yeah.
We had a beach training event last week, which was fantastic. 100 odd down in Torquay, 10 minutes down the road from where I live, Shian. And it's such a great time, even though it's 2 hours, to see again. I hate bringing up the other groups, but there are other groups, but we are all friends and we are all family and we are all like-minded individuals that just want to get together. And one of the key things that happened at that beach training, Shian,
Mm.
was one of the parents of the kids that I teach out my way. She couldn't fathom. She was so blown away by the energy of our kiais and everyone in that area together, and the amount of people that stop, that walk down that beach. I'm talking hundreds, in that hour or so, that just stop and go, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
Um, I could imagine, and then I was thinking of Japan and the way they may do the beach trainings. And I know you're not in a summer feel like I am at the minute, but with the beach trainings, um, the history of it here in Australia
Mm.
is something special. I knew of it. We know about it. We enforce training outside into nature and mountains. But that concept that Sosai had, and I'm sure you've had meetings with branch chiefs that really continue to keep that flame alive of a beach training or mountain training.
Yeah. I mean, in Japan, and there's a lot of footage out there of the old days and that,
Yeah,
a lot of the beach training is usually combined with camps. So you got your summer camps, so that's usually once a year. We've got a 3 or 4 day camp in the summer, and it's located somewhere near a beach. And I think, we've just copied that template over the years. However, what I think is that the difference here, and again, it depends on the dojo operator here. Some, as the weather gets better, might say, okay, we're going to do a 1 day session down at the beach.
yeah,
They might do it separate to camps, but it's not sort of fixed in stone. That's really up to the individual.
yeah.
But the definite pattern there is whenever you have your annual summer camp, and when we talk about summer camps in Japan, we're talking 34 to 36 degrees, 80 something percent humidity. It's like an Aussie Open tennis
Yeah.
hot clay kind of weather in Melbourne. It's that kind of sticky,
Yeah.
hot weather. So it's ideal to go down to the beach. And I mean, yeah, you look at all the old footage. It's pretty much stock standard here now, the same thing. And it just brings out something different, like you say. And plus, like you just said now, the people walking along the beach see all these crazy people dressed up in
Yeah.
white uniforms, and they're jumping in the sea, and they're trying to kick the water, and they're
Yeah.
trying to do press ups in it. But at the end of the day, it's free publicity because people stop and they watch and they become intrigued. So, it's good in that regard for, sort of showing the public. But like you say, there's a different energy.
Yes.
And the thing in Japan is, they'll mix it up, and we do it, back in New Zealand. I'm sure you do it in Aussie as well. But you do your stock standard Kihon stuff, get
Yep.
slowly going into the water,
Yep.
going deeper,
Yep.
doing different things. And that might be Kihon, it might be a bit of light sparring or whatever it might be.
It is exactly like that. And the Shians of our groups
Yeah.
got to get together, but
Yeah.
we, as I guess senseis and dojo operators, with them, promote it and endorse it. And
Yeah.
we had Shin Kyokushin, All Japan Union, Zen Kyokushin from our end, and a couple of other, smaller groups, but they were, all in on it. And ideally, you get a good day, obviously. And you know what? Also, as a reminder, to everyone, is the influence that it has on kids and teenagers. Now, my kids are 7 and 10,
Yep. Yep.
and here they are thinking, oh God, here I am stressing to them, look after your gi, clean your gi, don't
Yeah.
disrespect the gi, careful with your belts. And then we go to this beach training, and my
Yeah.
kids were like, "Oh, wait a second, are you cool with what's going to happen here?" I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, I stressed too much on that. But then I'm like, this is your time to, and I was so surprised with how, oh, well, then we're in, like we can get
Yeah.
sand and water and stuff all over us. And they were just,
Yeah. Yeah.
so chuffed, and all those kids and teens, and influence, meaning how they see us elders participate in it with such cool energy, and the
Oh,
history
yeah,
of our
I mean, that's a
Shians.
good point because and it's very similar to Japan, The one thing I think that's quite universal throughout the world with Kyokushin is this acknowledgement of hierarchy and things like that,
Yes.
and we've got a set of rules that we adhere to. There's a definite Buddha culture about it with that vertical hierarchy in place. But, and I've witnessed this in Japan, is that once you get to the beach, yeah, the Shihans and the Senseis and the Yudansha will go off in different, pockets and do different things and then come back together. But then, like you say, with the kids, even in Japan, you've got kids there. So we've got to make it fun for everyone as
Yeah.
well. So they'll do a bit of sumo, they'll do a bit of, other kind of competition kind of things. Here in Japan, often it ends up with blindfolding the kids, and they're given a stick, and they've got
Yes.
a big watermelon, and you've got to give them instructions on how to get close to it. And they got to try and whack it and
Oh,
smash it, and then they
cool
get to
fun.
eat it. But in the same breath, you actually are a bit more relaxed in terms of
Yes.
hierarchy because everyone's getting sand up the yin yang
Yes.
together. You know, um, everyone's doing it, and so we don't have to be so rigid with the hierarchy. We can have a bit of a laugh, and the
Yeah.
kids get to see a bit of normality as well,
Yes.
because everyone comes out dripping, soaking wet, and it's great, So there's
Now,
a bit of a fun to it as well, which I think is really important, and that's the same in Japan as well.
I do
You
a
know,
signature sign off on behalf of everyone. And there's lots of people that travel 1, 2, 3, 4 hours to get down to this session. And I
right?
do it like a signature sign off, which is after the session, the Shians also source, thank you. And then people kind of go, oh, damn, is that it? And it's like, no, it's not. And then I go, let's go, come back in the water for a second, up to about waist height, knee height. And we get in a circle, and we all do 50 to, depending on how the feel is, 50 to 100 squats. And
Okay.
everyone's counting, oosh, no. And then again in that circle, and everyone's like, again, the teenagers and the kids, like, what is going on? And you can see them going, there's a third Dan hugging me here, or a fourth Dan hugging me
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
What's
yeah,
going
yeah,
on? And who is he? And so we're doing it. And then the signature move is I yell out, when we've finished the 50,
yeah.
on the count of three, you splash water anywhere and everywhere. Be careful of, be careful that you don't bang into it, but just go nuts. And the openness of people that just go, what? Yeah, and again, the release of that etiquette is fun.
Yeah, yeah,
And it was like, it's a breath of, and the amount of people then that come up to me and go, that was so much fun. And I'm like, oh, the whole day was fun. Oh yeah, the whole day. But that was cool just to let loose and throw water at their Shian or at their sensei
yeah,
or at
yeah,
their Kohai. And
exactly.
I'm like, oh yeah. We're fun people too.
Yeah, we're human. Well, it shows that we're all human. I mean,
Yeah.
we're just normal people, and we're sort of stepped out of the dojo. And the other great thing about it is that even, and this is the same in Japan, you see that human side, not that scary side of your instructors. Yeah, you get to splash water on them. You're all training together, but there's a huge sense of community or family that comes about, and often in Japan it might end with a bit of a barbecue or something, and people are relaxed and they
I
just sit
wonder,
back and
I
have
wonder
a chat, get to know each other. So it's really
how
good.
Sosai came again. Did he come? I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just
Yeah,
talking
it's okay.
out loud to people here. I wonder how that concept came about. You know what I mean? Like in his office space or in a meeting with the branch chiefs. Hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to add in a beach training session. It'll be structured in this formality, and we're going to add a winter training session as well. I
Yeah,
wonder how because I bring that up because lots of other so I do BJJ, and they saw some photos of me and they were like, "Oh wow, that was awesome." I go, "Oh no, the way I talk, I go, "Oh no, we do that every year. We do that twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year." And they're like, "What? Wow, oh okay." And then I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, you know what? I don't think what other style or what other, you know, not
A lot
sport,
of
martial
you
art,
copied
martial
it.
art."
Yeah,
And then I
yeah.
was like, "Well, I wonder how I would have loved to be a fly on the wall, how that."
Well, I mean, with the camps, like there's a place called Yugawara, which was famous for, being the spot that where Sourcey would often hold his camps, and that could be international ones or people prepping for tournaments, etc., and so forth. That was the go-to place, and it's filled with hot springs and stuff like that.
Yes.
Um, with beach training, and this isn't just Kyokushin, but a lot of other karate styles. So, maybe he got the idea from somewhere else or vice
Mm,
versa. I'm not sure, but there's something called Kangeko, right? And Kangeko means training in the cold, which means that in the new year, you go to the beach, not in the
yeah.
summer,
Yeah.
and you're not there for long,
Yes.
but it's refreshing. Now, if you look at other different martial arts, Kangeko, this winter training session is full on. Like Kendo, for example,
Yes.
a lot of the universities, a lot of the Kendo clubs will do something called Kangeko, which is just in a very like hot, heated room, well, because of all the sweat and all
Yes.
of that going, and they're just absolutely pushed to their limits. So it's a way to get rid of all the cobwebs and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. But it's intense. Whereas this winter beach training is like, yeah, step into the water and it's, 3 or 4 degrees. It'll wake you up. We're only going to be here for, 20 minutes, half an hour, but it refreshes you and it gets you in that spirit of pushing through. So that's not just a Kyokushin thing, but I think with Sorsei, he wanted to mix it up.
Yeah.
So he didn't just do his annual summer camps, but he also would have. I mean, you look at a lot of the old footage of around like the fifth world tournament,
Yeah.
the one that Kenji Midori Shihan, won.
91.
There's a lot of footage around there where you'll see them on the beach,
Yeah.
and that was a fight squad training session where he would get the people together. So he wanted to take them out of that dojo environment, get them out in the fresh air. And because of the annual summer camps, he knew that was a good go-to, I think. So yeah, he just, I guess, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. We'd
No,
have
no.
to
But
sort of,
again, not to put you on the spot, but it was again to reiterate a couple of things here. So, obviously, if you follow me on Instagram, which you do, and you're getting shitty with me for putting up my sunrise pictures, um, I need water. I can't
yeah,
put it any more simply than that. And the amount of, I guess, years and rigors of training and all the things, the ice baths have popped up on
yeah,
socials and have been a hit. And again, combat wise,
yeah,
training, recovery, and muscle recovery, and then stimulus of the brain and the mental benefits that come from it. Um, the swim I do at 7 o'clock in the morning is just 10 body waves, 10 minutes before my kids wake up. 10 minutes to get there, 10 minutes in the water, 10 minutes to get back,
oh,
but rejuvenated.
yeah,
Oh, you wouldn't believe. Shihan Judd does when we were doing Shihan Judd's camps in May. So May is just fringe of winter here, and
right,
we do it down at Anglesey, just down the road. And the temperature outside, where I'm alluding to here, the temperature outside in those morning sessions, we run two and a bit K to get to the beach. So it's a
right,
2K jog, 15, 20 minutes, because we all want to stick
yeah,
together and it's pitch black. And then your body temperature obviously escalates with the
yeah,
jog. And then you take your shoes off and we start running into the water, knee high, a little bit less. And again, that additional factor into the training and the fresh air at that time of the morning, and getting, again, those that aren't accustomed to the water and a gi being wet, that's part and parcel of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
uncomfortableness. And then Xian Jub would emphasize, we would yell out, we are doing the knuckles on the push-ups, the push-ups on knuckles in the sand. We are holding each other up. So the feet are going in the sand. The water is giving you that balance and agility test. Your
Yeah.
push-ups on the set, all these things. Again, 24 years, myself and more you, of doing this yearly. I'm like, why aren't we pushing this more? I get into that mode of
Yeah, yeah.
just
I mean,
like
yeah,
good
using all the
start
elements,
training.
and I think it's taking you out of your comfort zone,
Yeah,
stimulating you at the same time. And I mean, mate, yeah, Shihan Judd's camp, that time is pretty close to, what I was referring to before, that Kangeko concept, where you have to step out of your comfort zone, but
yeah,
it's a good chance to reset and do it in a different environment, which, stimulates different things as well. But you're doing it, and I think, but the main concept there is you're doing it together. You're
yeah,
sweating together, you're feeling the elements together. And so again, it goes back to that sense of, well, we're all into this together,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it's
Hey,
really good.
that's cool.
I
Yeah,
mean, I've got a question for you
yeah.
actually. So, you mentioned before April,
Oh,
with
yes.
the tournament and the grading coming up. How's all the prep going?
Have you got a day? Have we got a
Yeah,
day?
oh, yeah, yeah, we can, yeah, 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 we
Ah,
can
that's
jump
I
on the
appreciate
flight.
that. We are going well,
Yeah.
and um, I'm I appreciate you asking me, because I love talking about this side of it, because as I was sharing with you, there's always different ways of training and learning and adapting. And every camp we've done for a domestic tournament has changed and tweaked. When we go to Japan, however, the last time we went was 2016 from our team. We were ready to go 2019, 20 for those All Japans and Worlds, but no go, no travel.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Japan didn't open up until comfortably in 2022. So now we're ready to go. And
yeah,
so time flies.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
my point to that is, well, how does everyone fight? How are the international fighters fighting now?
yeah, yeah,
Meaning where I can scope and research it on socials. And I have not a saying, but I have a theory of, every time we've fought in Japan. Now I've fought in Japan 6 or 7 times, and every time we've gone, there's something different. There's something new. There's a closer style. Then there's
yeah,
a wider style. Then there is the style of in and out.
yeah,
Then
yeah,
there is the style of more hands, less legs. Then there
yeah,
was the style of take the hit on the legs, because you should be weathering those kicks. That you should be accustomed to those kicks, and it'll get you in, and then
yeah,
it'll get you to, meaning don't check the kicks. Then the
right,
next thing was, be aware of the pace and the tempo and the speed
yeah,
and the time of the clock, when to go, when not to go. Fuck, there's
yeah,
just,
yeah,
and I love the strategy side. I love that in sports,
yeah, yeah,
but more so in karate, because I now, Shian Billy would pass on certain things, but they had that style of, Shian Billy fought in the fourth and fifth, or
right.
something like that, fifth and sixth, something like that. And so their theory was, it was brutal. It was
I was toe to
brutal.
toe bash, yeah,
That round
strongest
one, let's
five
go.
times.
I
Yeah,
see. I always like seeing footage of Shian Takiwa, from New
yeah,
Zealand, when he fought Richard Hood. There was something that came up with
yeah,
him.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
just some
yeah,
classics where you go, is that the Kiwi? And they
yeah,
just go bloody nuts, man, right from the
yeah, yeah,
start.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
then there's those types of fighters, and then like the Shian Billies of this world, and then there's, when I got there, the round one against the world champion one year, it was like a sparring session, but he just focused on my left thigh four
yeah,
times
yeah,
without me even feeling it. I didn't feel it, but the look of it was enough for him to get through, because he's like, I'm the world champ. I got to get through 7 fights here. I'll get through the first day 3 fights. I'm not here to go nuts on the kid from Australia. You see Takuma. So all these things come out. All these,
I think with Japan, I mean, they've got an ocean of choice when it comes to the tournaments
yeah, Yeah.
There is a regular schedule of tournaments that they can go in, so they get tournament fit, tournament ready, tournament
Yeah.
conditioned as they build up to the Worlds. Then they have their own separate fight training. You know,
Yes.
yeah. And we can say that it's not just Japan, but fighters now are more intelligent in terms of
Yeah.
the build up, the strategy. It's not just the crash and bash of
Right.
yesteryear. But even in yesteryear, you had some very intelligent fighters, but they were the ones that were the kind of mavericks. The tough, staunch guys were the ones, the Nakamuras, etc., the Sampes that would just stand there and,
Brutal.
survival of the fittest kind of thing,
Yeah.
strongest. Whereas now, and I think there's a good point there. The way they train is they go in with a definite strategy, and it's not a strategy based on who they might come up against. It's what you've just alluded to. Okay, my intention is to win this. Okay, so in the first round, this is how I'm going to
Method
fight.
to the
In the
madness.
second round, now with Japan, the thing is that if you're building a strategy to fight in Japan, and now Shihan, Nick Pettis, would often say, when we were at tournaments together, judging and stuff like that, the judges have a meeting and he'd be asked advice by the foreign fighters that had gone into the tournaments. And he would say, look, stick to your strategy. He
Yep.
says, but whatever you do, you've got to be pushing forward.
Yep.
So whenever you're attacking, make sure you move them back,
Yep.
move them outside the ring. You've got to create an impression. It's not how damaging are the hits. Like
Yeah.
you might land 2 or 3 good hits
Yep.
and then take your foot off the pedal, right?
Yep.
No, you've got to work people around the map, because if you've got Japanese judges in the corner,
Yep.
they will base their final impression on who controlled the mat. And if you're
Absolutely.
up against a Japanese fighter, if you're not pushing them out of the mat, then the flag will go to the Japanese fighter if it's, there or
Correct.
thereabout.
Yeah. So
It's not the damage in the hits so
yeah.
much, unless you knock them down or knock them out, but how you control. And that requires a bit of fighter intelligence. So it sort of, I think, gels well with Muay Thai, right? So in Thailand, when they're doing Muay Thai fighting, um, they build up. So if they've got 3 rounds,
Yep.
they don't go alpha leather in the first round. They suss each other out.
Yeah.
Then if you watch a fight that goes for 3 or 5 rounds or whatever, you'll see the intensity pick up.
Yep.
That's a strategy that's been adopted
Yep.
worldwide, I think. If you've got a strong enough base and you're going to go
Yeah.
a bit deeper into the tournament,
Yeah.
and the Takumas of the world did it wonderfully. So, like you were saying, they pick their shots, and it's a build up to something else. So they're trying to suck you in. They're creating a pattern so that it leads to something different that's going
Correct.
to stop you in your tracks,
So
or to push you forward out of the mat. And
yep.
that's where they collect the points, you see. So
Yep. You're spot on. And I was getting ahead of myself there because all of those things started for us, or started in my brain. We're up to week 5. We get
right.
there mid-April. And in sharing with listeners, we're on a 12-week. I set up a 12-week plan of attack. And it's the first 4 we did. The first 4 were leading into our 50 rounds that we did last Wednesday, 50 by 1-minute rounds.
Mm.
And that is to practice what you've been working on in the last 4 weeks. So 4
Yeah.
weeks, we've worked on different ways, and I've broken up the classes in hand work. So how to
Yeah.
guard with your hands and just focus on hands and counter back with your hands. So I'm showing it, I guess. And then there's outside game and inside game, I call it.
Yeah.
Outside game
Yeah.
is to pull that hand out and use your opposite
Yeah.
to help you get in. Then there's inside, which is the fighter that's punching you on the outside, where the gap and the distance is different. So you
Yeah.
don't want to be seen from an outside puncher going back. You want to
Yeah.
be, I call it stall. That's my word. You have to
Right.
stall it. You can't be that, like you're saying. So don't
Yeah.
get hit by the outside fighter to go back. You got to stall in. Once
Yeah.
we stall in, now it's up to you. So I'll show how to get in. I'll show how to get out. But then it's up to the fighter to use whatever they're efficient with once it's here
Yeah.
or here. So are
Yeah.
you a good kicker? Are you a good, and when you're kicking, are you, we're huge on no ones. Don't just do one.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna do much.
It's got to set up something else,
Yeah,
I mean, and yeah, so it's a whole strategy, right? So, what is the purpose of a kick? You've all got your favorite combinations, what
yeah,
works for you, but what's it setting up?
yeah.
Don't deal in ones, deal in twos, threes. And I think what's changed a lot, the Europeans are great at this.
Oh yeah.
I actually think a lot of Australian fighters now, Kyokushin fighters that I see, thanks to the influence of people like you that have experienced it, the Shihan Judds of the world, etc., and so forth. They're less linear than they used to be. It used to be you were chasing the other person in a straight line. And what Japan was famous for was being more circular and setting up its techniques. So even when you're close, so if you're powering away an oidski or whatever, you're not just powering it away, but you're moving to a 45-degree
Yeah,
angle
correct way.
before you release your counter combinations, and
Now,
things like, and that's how they will train here. It's all a strategy on,
yes.
okay, what if something it's simulated?
Yep.
What if something's coming in? Okay. And they always it's called Maari Komi, where you're going around. And
Correct.
that's the instruction you'll hear from the coaches when they see their fighter becoming a bit flat-footed or
How good.
going a bit too linear. It's there's Tai Sabaki from Enshin Karate and all that kind of stuff as well. But it's all about keeping the other fighter on their toes and chasing you. So that means using all of
To
the
my
angles.
ears. Music
So
to
yeah,
my ears, Chiam, because, and excuse me if I keep cutting you off because
that's
I'm
right. Go for it.
because that concept now
Yeah,
we know, we as in that have traveled and been there, we know and we talk about it. Oh, you got to. So I said, yeah, okay. We are at that 4 week, 5 week block that we've just done. I
yeah,
called it volume. And the definition of that was what we spoke about a month ago, which was
yeah,
preseason, right?
yeah,
Preseason on a fitness conversation. That's over there. Yeah,
yeah,
you ready? Because now volume was, Shian, those situations and scenarios. And fortunately at my dojo, I'm very blessed and lucky to have a great team of 6'2", 120, 105, 90, 70. We're a massive spread. We're a great spread. And my point is the volume was up 45 seconds to 1 minute rounds and just continually move, nothing heavy. I said they're fucking piss heavy. Like it's not heavy meaning no strong contact.
yeah,
Don't do your contact 100% now. Not now. Not
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Move,
yeah.
move.
Build up that
Fine.
fitness first. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And the
yeah,
volume of the sets that we did with hands, then we would move hands. Then we would just do legs. So we would do, okay, Shian Sean is kicking me now, and I'm checking, and or countering. Go. And it's just
yeah.
now you got to find your rhythm. Now you got to find your all that stuff. Then after kicking, then I do it to you. And then
Mhm.
we keep going 6 to 7 rounds, either with the same
Yeah,
partner or I'll switch it up. Doesn't matter. After that, it's you know, evasive. Don't get hit now. Don't get
yeah,
hit. See how it goes. See how it goes. See where you wear it. See where you go. So all this volume is different scenarios, different scenario,
yeah,
different scenario.
yeah.
And then at the end of kicks, it's live. So no hands, but you can still use your guard. I still encourage the filio guard.
Yeah,
It's not about ignoring no punching. It's just don't do it. Don't do it.
yeah,
Rely on your legs. Don't waste. And we're doing this with shin pads all the way
yeah.
through. To and I took that from Hiroshige Shion, who
Right.
taught, who taught the Yamaki's
Kazumis and yeah,
Kazumi
Yamaki and all of those greats. Yeah, yeah.
Sukamoto,
Kurokawa and yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I took it from them, and we've done it for years. But I took away the training of no shin pads, which was an era of I could got to be honest, 5, 6, 7 years ago, where we went, let's train hard, let's condition, let's train hard.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching this footage years and years ago, and I'm like, why they got arm guards? Why they got knee guards? And how hard how hard meaning controlled but hard,
Yeah. But hard. Yeah.
but they're good to go. They're not
Yeah.
hurt. And I'm
Yep.
like, fuck.
Injuries. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, and that was back in the day, and I think,
Yeah,
but they build up that intensity because they're then getting that conditioning, and the conditioning's not just physical, it's mental. They're getting used to getting hit,
yeah,
but they've got that padding on so they avoid injury. And I
correct.
think, and one thing I say to people getting ready for fights is that, treat it as a high performance environment,
Mm,
especially these days. If you got different fighters, you got different body makeups, you got
mm,
different styles, you got different,
yes,
combinations that their go to, sort of combinations, etc. Some people can't kick to the head, okay, but they've got an awesome Geramashigiri, or even their Chudan, Mikatsukigeri is a weapon, or whatever it is. What I often say to people is, okay, you've got all this, experience yourself, but find fighters, use YouTube. There's so much out there.
preference. Yeah,
Find a fighter that's close to you
yeah,
and who's there or thereabouts in the tournament sort of circles, right? And that's a good fighter that you think you can emulate, and look at them and see how they move, see how they react, and
oh,
go back and watch the fight 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
oh,
10 times, but each time going with a different objective. One, look at how they set up their combinations.
got on.
The next time you look through, look at their defense. The next time, look at how they're moving in a circular sort of fashion. Um, the next time, look at their mat control. Especially when they win the fight on a decision, not on a wazari or a ippon, but
Yeah,
on a decision. How did they get to that point? See where, and in Japan, you'll often hear um, something like last or sanjubyo, right? So the last 30 seconds, or,
yeah,
and so the people are yelling out because the way they've trained, they know, okay, I've got 30 seconds now
push,
to
push.
control the mat, and depending on, if it's a very even fight, then they know that last 30 seconds counts as the last impression they leave in the judge's mind and the ref's mind. So they've worked all that out in their fighting sessions, and that's fighter intelligence, right?
Yeah,
But use the technology that's out there. I mean, it's done in all high performance sports. Rugby players, for
yeah,
example, they have iPads full of
yeah.
clips of
Information.
their counterparts in the other opposite side. What are their habits? How do they, what are their set plays? And they will spend hours looking at cut
Yeah,
clips so that they're ready mentally. They've got a mental image of what to expect. So if you're going to Japan, look at how Japanese fighters are fighting now.
yeah,
If there's going to be Europeans there, look at
um,
because we've all got different go-to kind of styles.
yeah,
Like you said, the Shihan Takiwas, the Sensei Richard Hoods of the world had a specific style that was a Kiwi style. Okay, so if you're coming up against a Kiwi, it's going to be intense. But what are their go-to sort
yeah.
of fighting styles? Look at it,
Correct.
in different ways, and then you're as prepared as you can be.
Right. And then, so in timeline wise,
Mm,
we're into that fifth, sixth week. So we've built a lot of volume up. We've complemented it with the 51-minute rounds I do at my dojo each month is a culmination of three things. Testing just your endurance and your stamina to mentally know, no sweat, I can do this. It'll take an hour and 15 minutes and clear that.
yeah,
Two, try things. Try
yeah,
things. What have you been working on? How what? And I use the analogy of we break these 50 into 10 rounds. So 10 break, 10 1 minute, 2 minute break. Each of those 10, I tell anyone and everyone. The first 10, I tell some of my senpais, left foot forward.
yeah.
The first 10, left foot forward. The whole way through that first 10, while you're warming up, getting your balance, don't switch feet. Stay left foot forward.
Right, right.
The next 10, hands only. hands only or hands only meaning when you're about to set something up, don't kick first, hands first, then kick. See how it goes. And then, after the fifth fight, stuff, go back to, but use these awesome training partners that come down
Yeah.
from all over our city here in Melbourne and switch it up. Don't go
Yeah.
through the 50 going
Yeah.
at the end going, fuck, I don't know what I did. I just fought. Oh, well, you've just seriously wasted, because we're going at an 80%. Where some volume picks up, some intensity picks up with the legitimate lads that
The
are
different
competing.
personalities. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's fine. And I police it and manage the temp. How you can just hear it and you go, what's going on over
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, easy. We're all in it together, because the third and last thing is no injuries, man. No
Yeah.
injuries. Be confident enough to throw that technique, to groom that technique, to know that in the 40th minute of this exercise, if your chudan is not good enough to throw,
Yeah.
and it's weak and it's poor, well, it'll probably be poor in the ikiwaki that you get
Yeah.
in that first round. And then you got Nicky Wacky and you've got that lactic in your body where you're effed. That's when I go, now jump into the 40, 50th round, breathe,
Yeah.
get your breathing back. Think of it now as the second Nicky Wacky in your fight. So you
Yeah.
fought.
Yeah.
So each of those 10 you have to build on a concept, not just, so at 20, at 30, Shihan,
Mm.
everyone that doesn't have fitness, I can spot it. And I'm not trying to boast here. I'm trying to explain the level that I've now taken it to in doing it for 2 years every month. And of course, in the prep that I did, but by the 30th, and we go, yeah, man, stop.
Yeah.
Everyone that is not taking care of themselves with fitness stamina. Not, I don't give a shit if you lift weights and you're big. The big
Yeah.
guys that lift are done at 20. They're
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a different element to the training, because we're still going at 80%, and I can see it at 30. Now you're using, unfortunately, or unfortunately, the ones that are trying to get through the last 20, Shihan, are
Yeah.
using this part of the body,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is good. But
Fighting smart.
now, now this lets them down,
Yeah.
where you shouldn't worry about this all
Yeah.
the way through the 50. You should not be worrying about your physical game plan. Physical game plan should be set. Tick it off as soon as you get in. This
Yeah.
won't be a problem.
Should be
When it
second
gets,
nature.
and
Yeah.
then in the last block, all you are doing is move your feet. You're using this
Yeah.
double. Instead, what happens is the brains for many of these, and I'm not. Please don't. Those that are listening, I share it at the dojo to those listening. I say, I know where your weakness is, because you are showing me.
Yeah.
You are showing me. You are pushing back. You are not doing your sets anymore. And it is because of your fitness and stamina. It's not up here. Up here will mature. The more you fight, the more you go through it. You will start to understand how much more you can push, or what technique should you use at this time. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be thinking about it the 40th round.
No.
I hope I get through this. You
Yeah. Well, it goes back. It
are
goes
now
back to.
forgetting how to fight. You are just so
Well,
hot.
yeah, it's that mental training as well. And I think,
Huge.
the more you study, because we're talking about competition here, but it links nicely with different concepts from Buddha, right? And I may have talked about this before in a last year in one of the episodes, and one of these days we'll get him on. But I've got a good Kiwi mate that's dedicated his life to Kendo, right?
It was,
So much so that he publishes a English Kendo magazine that goes worldwide. He's an
wow.
authority on, Buddha history in Japan.
Oh, wow.
He's
Get him
yeah,
on.
and yeah, we will. But one thing, and actually Nick interviewed him years and years and years ago, probably close on 16 years ago
Oh, wow.
now, when he was doing a TV series on NHK World called Samurai Spirit.
Yes.
And, he interviewed Alex, and this is one thing that sticks with me, and I
Yep.
try to use it. In Kendo, there's a concept called shikai. And Shikai means, well, to give you a liberal translation, it refers to the four weaknesses of the mind or the heart. Okay. And those four are, this is what they talk about in Kendo, right?
Mm, mm.
Those four are surprise, doubt,
Wow.
fear, and hesitation.
Wow. Strong.
Now, with Kendo, if you're not familiar with it, like you've got competition Kendo and then you've got Kendo as a lifelong journey. So Alex, my mate, he's a nanadan in Kendo, right? And he's trying to attempt his hachidan, and the pass rate's like 0.3% or whatever, 6%. I can't remember.
Unbelievable.
And so he's taking the test again and again. You just have to be in the moment, and
Ah,
everything has to click and sync, and it hasn't for him yet, but he'll get there.
wow.
Um, he can come up against, so he's what, same age as me, he's 54 now. He can come up against a 70 or a 75 or an 80-year-old Kendo practitioner.
Yes.
The guy will pick him apart because this guy's got another 25 years on him. And I mean, I don't want this to sound like Star Wars or anything, but the guy can see
Yeah. Matrix.
which of those four weaknesses Alex has.
Wow.
So, through his actions. So
Yep.
this person has sort of perfected that. I mean, it's a weird way to say it, but and I'm plagiarizing right now because Alex said in an interview, spiritual armor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So the person with that sort of that ability to see, oh, this person is surprised by this movement,
Yes.
or this person hesitates when I do this, or I can actually see the fear now because they're not controlling the fight. Okay. Or they're hesitating with distance. They're able to see which one of these four elements the person has and they capitalize on it.
Yeah.
So when you're training,
Good point.
I mean, like with fighter training here, for example, one routine that we often use is you've got your go-to combinations, right? Because you know your body makeup, you know what you're good at, you know what works, what
Yeah.
flows. But you've got to step out your comfort zone. So one exercise is to actually stand toe to toe, and you don't do it hard, but what you do is you say, okay, we're going to do copycat training.
Hmm.
And maybe you do this already. So you're with your partner and you go, okay, and you say, okay, you got to throw out a 3 or 4
Combo.
point combination. The other person has to mimic it back,
Cool.
right? So you might go oitsuki, shtatsuki, gedama, shigeri, and then, maigeri, whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Then that person has to copy that. Then it's their turn to throw out a different combination, and you've got to copy that. And what that's doing is, A, you're not going to your set pattern all the time. You're actually thinking on your feet and you're having to copy the other person. So they might switch kamae or they might do something else. They might move around before they go in for a technique. You've got to copy everything they're doing and vice versa.
Cool.
But it's just adding more to your toolbox because the combination you might not have thought of, but you're able to do by mimicking the other person gives you a bigger repertoire, right?
Yeah.
So those kind of things can
Indeed.
also be used to stimulate, your body conditioning work. Like you say, there's a specified schedule, so you build up.
Yeah.
But by preparing well, you're eliminating those four
Yes.
focuses of the mind.
Yeah.
You're not surprised by different combinations anymore. You don't hesitate when you've got a certain
Great
distance.
point.
You shut out that fear because you've done so much training that you are, you're in the zone.
Yeah.
And so you put on that poker face,
Yeah.
right? And there's no doubt anymore because you've built up that confidence. So even though it's a kendo concept,
Oh,
it
yeah.
fits quite nicely with what we do as well.
Great
So
points.
there's something, that
That's
might,
awesome.
yeah.
Nice nuggets there. That's really cool for you, for you to bring up because that now I go, right, we've done volume. We've done volume. We've ticked it off. That's 5 weeks of good volume. And this is once a week for two. We do two. It's for 2 hours. The block is on a Wednesday, middle of the week. So individually, my students, I've got 3 of us are fighting in veterans, Senpai Michelle and in female, myself 40 to 47, Craig's 49, Scotty is 32 in open. It's his first crack, and Dean's
Nice.
going to go in it. So I've got a different spread of people, different spread of everything. And my point to that is the way we then have our training partners all having to now be on the same page as us. So I said to the training partners that aren't competing, that don't compete, you still need to come on the journey. Your fingerprints are all over this.
Yeah.
Without you all, we can't train against each other. We're going to break in half. You know, we need everyone's energy and effort and commitment towards this. So that has happened and has kickstarted the year, which has been fantastic. Now the second block, Shihan, is this pushing ourselves and Shark Tank, I call it. Shark Tank is now, okay, we've isolated the volume, we've picked up everything, you've tried things, you've added a couple of things to your bow. Now we're going to isolate it. Now we just do the bag work, the specific things that we want, that you want to polish up, put together for the next month. For the next month, and now we're going to push the body to the degree of, you know, the equivalent of a 2 or a 3 minute round. So Shark Tank for us in our dojo, Shihan, is I'm in the middle, and if I have 10 training partners, 30 seconds each. 30 seconds each. They come at me. You know, so I just went bang, 30 seconds. You, let's go. Blah, 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 blah. And someone yells out, Yummy. Next person comes in, 6'2" now, 30 seconds. Move, move, move. Next person. And then we switch, and then that's 3 minutes of Shark Tank, right?
Yeah.
But the size of the space we use is 3x3, which is the equivalent of the space that you need on the mat. You're not allowed to run around. Well, you can use the mat, but I don't want you to. You need to stay put. You need to stay within that 3x3 meter square. You have to figure out your world in this Shark Tank. That's it. And then we rotate after that. That fighter has a break. Next fighter, who's fighting? Yeah, me. Okay, you're in. And we'll do one round of everyone getting a shot. Then I squeeze the squares in. 3x3 goes to about there now. I just narrow it. And we go again. Now you're tired. Now you're stuffed. Now you're effed. Now your feet don't want to go. You don't want to do this again. You copped one in the guts before. And now we're pushing you again for another 3 minutes. So we try to do that 3 times in that. This is now what happens for the next month, inclusive of the bag work and all the footwork.
Yep.
So we're up to that phase.
Just intelligent. And I think, you know, I referred to a Kendo Budo concept just now.
Yes.
But, you know, because we are talking about high performance here.
Yes.
You know, I know I go back to rugby a bit, but I mean, hey, in New Zealand, rugby's a religion. It's not a sport.
Around it.
Yeah. So there's something called the red and blue concept, right?
Okay.
So it's fight or flight, basically.
Okay.
You know, we react in 2 different ways, emotionally, or we can verbalize it. You know, we can put words to it. So when we just purely react off instinct, it's when you see red. You know, there's too much emotion in it, then you're in red. Okay. But if you can balance that with what's called the blue, it's a book by Dr. Kerry Evans, who was the mental coach for the All Blacks.
Wow.
So I think Godan or Rokudan in Seido Juku, so Tadashi Tamura. New Zealand, he actually represented the All Whites in soccer way back in the day. He wrote a book called Performing Under Pressure, and this is his realm, right?
Doctorate, yeah.
It's a pretty intense book to read, but to simplify it, you know, when you overreact emotionally, there's got to be this blue side that puts language to the emotion. Okay, why am I reacting this way? So your Shark Tank thing is the ideal thing. You know, how much are you able, for how long are you able to analyze yourself, like have someone, you know, another you on your shoulder with a word in your ear saying, okay, you're taking too many shots to the guts. You've got to start to rotate your hips a bit more and just fan them and counter, fan them and counter. Are you actually putting words in your head and not just getting frustrated and going, and panicking? Because then that goes back to those 4 weaknesses again.
Sure.
you're hesitating, you're doubting, you're
Yeah.
surprised, you're showing fear. So it all kind of complements each other. But once they go through the Shark Tank, and I don't know if you do this, but I'm sure you do in some way or form. The reflection is and it's one of Source Hayes' 11 mottos, self-reflection, self-contemplation is an opportunity for further improvement, right?
Improvement. Absolutely.
So, sit them down and say, how did it feel?
Oh,
Compare, round 1 to round 10. How were you mentally? How did you feel? Get them to express those feelings. When did you panic? When did you doubt? When did you hesitate?
oh,
And they might not be able to do it at the beginning, but towards the end, they'll be saying, yeah, well, and I notice when I get tired, all my thoughts go out the window and I'm just
I
going,
smile.
and I don't really know what I'm doing.
I
So,
smile because, and those that do the 50 rounds will be too.
yeah,
This concept was from basketball. And when we
right.
trained back in the day, we sat in a circle, and I was 17, 18 years old, had no right to be in that circle, meaning to share feedback on how our session was. And we would use that, and I learned a lot from it. I
Yeah.
brought that in, or I brought that into every single one of our 50 rounds we do, Shihan, over the last 2.5, 3 years.
Excellent. Yeah.
We're knackered, we're spent. I go, get your drink bottle, take your shin pads, gloves off, bring your towel, come to the mat.
Yeah.
We sit in a circle, and they have to tell me 3 positive
Right.
things. You got 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Should come out organically. If it doesn't, don't
Yeah.
sweat. We'll come back to you. Go. And they go, moved well, did my combinations. Maybe I stuffed around too much in the first 20. Good job. Next. And we move around. And
Excellent.
every single one is different.
Yeah.
Every single debrief I call, and then I fine tuned it from how the SAS do it. The SAS do their brief of what we're expected to do. Once the job's done, mission secured, let's come back and let's make sure that the next mission we go to, the next 50, has some substance on what you've learned from the mission that we just did. And
Yeah.
the mission of the SAS is always to critique, but by critiquing, you have to have the balance of expressing your emotions. Some students express how grateful they are to just train with all of us. One from another style was just so, he didn't even mention how he did in his fights. He said, I just can't thank you enough to have this here, to be
Right.
able to train and test myself against others. And he nearly broke down because he was just
Well, that's a reflection.
in an
It's
emotional
he's
state.
expressing gratitude, and that's
Yeah.
gratitude of being pushed through his
Yes.
paces. I mean, and all of this,
Being able to walk home.
I think one thing that we can say about this is that we don't want to
Mm,
we don't want to over verbalize everything, right? But I think a little bit of self-reflection at the end,
yes.
like when we take a training, we don't need to oversell what we're doing or why we're doing it. We
Yeah.
just need to lead by example, show a technique, maybe explain it a little, but the actual doing of it is the most important thing. Then at the end, like you said, you can ask those questions, and it goes back to Shihan, um, Cameron Quinn's
Mhm.
set of 3 questions. What went well? What didn't go so well?
Spot on.
What are you going to do about what didn't go so well? So there's many different varieties of how you do it. But I mean, there's a time and a place for that. Do the training first,
Yeah.
reflect later. Then it sets up goals for the next training session, and then you're building on it. And
Oh,
that can be done for a grading as well.
yeah.
You can use this sort of structure for not just tournament training, but for
Yes.
training in a holistic sense, right? So,
Spot on. Shian, look at
hey,
the time. Look at the time.
yeah,
I told you
yeah,
we
we
were
could go
five.
on forever, couldn't we?
Hey, that's awesome. The reason why we needed to catch up again and have a yarn. And to the listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed this episode. So there is some exciting stuff that I've been prepping up, Chian. I've got a couple of more guests in line, and I think it's best to reveal just so it builds accountability from my end more so. But Sensei David Weir Smith was the current Matsushima Australian fighter in heavyweight who won the World Cup over there just before Christmas. So love to get him on. I was fortunate to fight. I'm a middleweight fighter, but I was fortunate to fight him in 2016 in the Australian titles. So That's cool about that. Shihan Jim Scablos, he's going to be on. Who was the right hand man to Hunchy John Taylor over the last God knows how many years of late. So he's going to be joining us as well. And I've got lined up Senpai Michael Archer. Michael is ex Kyokushin boy, but he's done a lot of the UFC what's like junkets in regards to hand mitt training. He's one of the best hand mitt coaches, trainers, and he's a Nidan in Kyokushin, and we also train BJJ together. So he's around the corner, but he's trained with the likes of, the Winkle John. He's done a junket there with Winkle John MMA, and so I'm looking forward to getting some, I guess it's a again forever the student concept. So,
Yeah.
very interesting. 3 different people I've got lined up over the next couple of weeks. I'm moving house over the next week, so I'll be hands and knees into that. But Shihan, thank you for this awesome chat this week. I trust your week and your upcoming month is going to be solid as well. You're off to New Zealand, eh?
Yep. Yeah, off to New Zealand tomorrow. There's a couple of people attempting a high Udansha grade in New Zealand, and I'm sure they're going to be successful in that. But
Special moment.
going there to support that, and
Okay.
also do a plug for the Forever the Student, because I'll have some face-to-face time with the people I'd like to sort of get on it as well. So yeah, I'll let you know how my sales pitch goes with the people I've got targeted in New
Awesome.
Zealand as guest appearances.
That's exciting.
But yeah, it should be good. Looking forward to it.
And if they don't agree, that's that chance
Well,
for
then yeah,
us
yeah,
to
that's
drop
fine.
at all these
I'll
tournaments.
throw a hissy fit, and they'll say, okay, we'll go on.
That'd be great. And I hope they're listening. I know the ones you're talking about. So that would be epic to get more
Yeah,
of the Kiwi junket. And so again, for Forever the Student, I'm doing my best to spread the Australian flavor from not just being Victoria based. Again, it's time that I have available that those guests are free. And I hope, and I'm sure everyone understands. No one's cracked the shits yet to a degree, but there are some that don't want to do it as well, Shian. There are some
yeah,
that don't,
that's right. That's fine.
and that's
Yeah.
cool. And yeah, again,
If
and
we ask 10
it's
and
just a
3 say yes, then that's
just
3 we didn't have before. So
yeah.
yeah, we'll keep
Shian,
plugging it.
thanks heaps for your time.
Plus,
Stay
mate.
stay warm
Thanks,
in sunny
Sensei.
Japan. Does that make sense? Stay warm in Japan.
I'm trying to make the air conditioning's on full bore right now.
Well, our summer ends in 2 more days. I'm devastated, but we've got make the most of it. But a big us to you, Shian. Us everyone.
Us,
Thanks for
us.
listening. We'll be in touch. Keep training hard. Big us. Thanks, guys.